We were very wrong about the nature of Form VII, Vapad, and we need to correct it immediately. Greetings again, lore junkies and acolytes, and welcome to the archives. Quite some time ago, myself and the archivist had an extensive discussion about all 7 forms of lightsaber combat, plus some of the hidden and the lesser known techniques and forms. When we got to Form VII, we made a mistake when we said that Juyo and Vapad were basically the same, just with different mindsets and ways of channeling the Force. While it is true that Vapad is more of a mindset than a form, it does still have its own systems and techniques, which creates a totally unique sword style separate from that of Juyo. In today's holocron, we need to set the record straight by discussing all of the key differences between Juyo and its later variant, Vapad. Let's begin. Form variants are a tricky subject to tackle. Within the 7 styles of lightsaber combat, 2 of them are called by different names, that being Form V and Form VII. Often the reason why these variants aren't expanded out into their own numbered form is because they follow the same philosophy of the form that they are categorized in, but just take different approaches to them. Form V, for instance, is expanded into Shien and Gemso. Shien, the traditional variant, focuses on the idea of defense while launching strong counterattacks. It was created to more easily reflect blaster fire, and excelled at confronting multiple opponents at once. But it had the weakness of being less effective against a single opponent. Its variant, Gemso, decided to amend this weakness, and created a form that dominated in single combat. It took the blade work of Shien and inverted it, now having a focus on offense with quick parries and counters as the only mode of defense. It excelled in single combat with its heavy blows and domineering blade work. Both styles keep this idea of strength and rebuffing enemy attacks at its core, while taking entirely different approaches to that. Form VII's core identity lies in the fact that it is an exciting and a passionate form. Its practitioners have erratic and furious blade work meant to overwhelm their enemies. It takes Form I Shicho's idea of randomness and introduces an element of emotion and the constant channeling of one's force power. Of course, all lightsaber forms require one to channel the Force to use it, but Form VII thrusts this idea into a new evolution. This is why it is called the Ferocity form. While recognized as one of the 7 by the Jedi Council, it oscillated between being accepted by the Jedi Order and seen as taboo depending on the era. Sidious, who used all the forms but preferred Form VII Juyo, outright stated that it was a Sith form and not meant for Jedi use. A Form VII practitioner was said to maintain a calm exterior appearance. Still, they were stated to experience significant internal pressure while using the Ferocity form. It was easily the most vicious form of lightsaber combat, and was said to fill the practitioner with both fury and a malignant grace. But its very nature made it paradoxical for Jedi. For a Jedi to use it, they were never meant to allow passion to fuel their blade, hence why Juyo was often a forbidden form, reserved only for those whom the Council approved to study it. This is what the Jedi Path says regarding Juyo. Vicious and unpredictable, Form VII requires a Jedi to attack under the guidance of controlled passion. It is this aspect that has caused the most consternation among the Order. For proper execution, Juyo seemingly puts a Jedi in violation of one of the code's core precepts. There is no emotion, there is peace. However, Form VII masters do not give themselves to emotion blindly. They channel their inner turmoil into a mental forge, which provides the passion to power their raw and furious strikes. A true expert keeps the emotions locked within the forge. Lesser practitioners of the arts might allow their emotions to spill out during battle, poisoning their intentions and drawing them into the fury of the dark side's rage. Form VII is a difficult form to master. Its movements are sharp and chaotic, and occur in quick bursts. You can drill these sequences into your head through regular practice, but you will not truly be using Juyo until you allow excitement, passion, and rage to color your actions. In terms of actual blade work, Battlemaster Sindralig listed that bold, direct motions were the characteristics of Form VII, qualifying them as more open and kinetic than Form V, but with a less elaborate appearance than Ataru. Sindralig contrasted the tactics of Juyo as not nearly as graceful or linked as those of Ataru, referring to them as seemingly unconnected sequences. He also listed one of the strengths of the form as its unpredictability. So how does Vapad differ from Juyo? Let's start with the part we got wrong and the true reason why we made this video, the blade work. For this, we need to only look at the animals after which each variant was named. Juyo was called the Way of the Vornskr, which was a vicious canine species that had the unusual ability to sense the Force. This ability had evolved to allow them to hunt their favorite prey, the Ysalamiri. But as a result, this ability caused them to believe that all Force sensitives were their prey, giving them a penchant to hunt Jedi. Juyo emulates the Vornskir's way of pouncing on and eviscerating one's prey, but Vapad was named directly after a different animal. In the wild, Vapads were invertebrate predators that possessed a multiplicity of tentacles. A Vapad attacked by striking its prey with its tentacles so quickly that they were nothing but a blur to the naked eye. There was no way to tell how many tentacles it had unless one was dead. After observing a Vapad in the wild, Windu developed his own system alongside Sora Bulk in order to emulate those movements. Like Juyo, its attacks appeared to be unconnected, seemingly unpolished to an untrained observer. But Vapad took that to an extreme, to the point where even Dooku mistakenly called Windu's form sloppy. He simply didn't understand the underlying philosophy of it, because when they enter a flow state, a Vapad practitioner appears to wield many lightsabers at once, moving too fast for one to perceive. These random movements would flow together with liquid precision like the rapids of a raging river, creating a constant and nearly invisible weave of energy. It was also possible to apply Vapad in unarmed combat as well, with the user's arms becoming too fast to see. This was something Windu employed on the world of Dantooine when surrounded by an army of B-2 battle droids. Anakin, when observing the duel between Darth Sidious and Windu, described the Jedi Master's Vapad blade work to be an oblate sphere of purple fire, one that contained dozens of blades attacking from every perceivable angle. But of course, the most memorable aspect of Vapad is what occurs in the Force when one uses it. And this is where we finally address the mindset portion. Mace Windu perfectly creates a version of Form VII meant for a Jedi. Instead of generating one's own passion to fuel the blade, Vapad is reactive to the darkness of one's opponent. In Jedi vs. Sith: The Essential Guide to the Force, Windu describes it like this: I developed Vapad to answer my own weakness and channel my inner darkness into a weapon of the light. To use Vapad, a Jedi must give himself over to the thrill of battle, enjoying the fight and the satisfaction of winning. A Jedi must also accept and embrace the fury of his opponent. This transforms a Jedi into half of a superconducting loop, the other half being the power of the darkness, which passes in and out of the Jedi without touching him. Vapad is more than a fighting style. It is a state of mind, a path that leads through the penumbra of the dark side. Ironically, Vapad is a variant that not only builds off of the philosophy of its traditional form, but actively counters it. If Juyo generates the passion and the darkness, then Vapad reflects it right back. Windu despises the darkness within himself so much that he has turned it into a weapon that would destroy all those that wield the dark side. The more evil and vile the opponent, the more efficient Vapad became, as Windu accepts the darkness of his enemy, and then fountains it back out into his erratic blade work. This aspect of Vapad, however, is not perfect. Embracing the superior darkness of another does not automatically give the practitioner more power. In fact, Vapad's one weakness is the limitations of its user. Against Sidious, the novel for Revenge of the Sith tells us how Windu literally has to compromise his own safeguards, those around the form, to keep up with the Dark Lord. It describes that he had to let go of all of his Jedi restraint and totally surrender to the chaos of the form. He took in every bit of Sidious's considerable darkness and geysered it back out onto him. In this moment, Vapad became perfect, as it was tested against the greatest shadow the galaxy could produce. Windu was grasping at anything to give him more power, and ended up latching onto Anakin's fear. This was just enough for him to disarm Sidious and to end the duel. But even after ending the swordplay itself, Vapad would face one final test, a test that it nearly failed. Windu began reflecting the lightning that Darth Sidious fired at him. The unique properties of Vapad enabled him to pour it back out onto its source. However, the novel makes it clear that this was taking everything in Windu to make happen, and in fact, Vapad began to crack. The force lightning of Vapad began to overwhelm Mace, and he shouted to Anakin that he couldn't hold on much longer. The only reason he was able to keep his form from breaking was that Sidious's lightning was killing him faster. But despite its design being meant to defeat the darkness, Windu was always afraid of Vapad turning Jedi to the dark side. It had caused that to happen with Sora Bulk, Windu's colleague, who had helped him develop the form in the first place. And later on, when Depa Billaba fell to the dark side and into a dark side madness, she too would utilize the form for evil. This creates a totally unique situation with Vapad, where Form VII almost gets a third variant. these Darksiders married the philosophies of Juyo and Vapad together, using their own darkness as an engine to fuel the sequences of Vapad instead of reflecting it. When this happened, Dooku noted that the form became an unbridled force of nature. However, Windu insisted that this actually weakened the form because it compromised the core principle at play, and that because of that, he was able to soundly defeat both Sora Bulk and Depa Billaba. But anyway, my friends, this is the appropriate differences between the variants of Form VII, and why Vapad continues to be one of the most unique and special styles of lightsaber combat that we know of in the lore. And again, if you were given the chance, would you utilize Juyo or Vapad? Would you pitch the darkness or bat it back? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for joining us today in the archives, and may the Force be with you.